Okay, so today I'm lucky enough to be driving the tippy top of the 911 range, the GT2 RS. This is a very special car. This is a very fast car. And it's quite different than driving my 911 in many ways. Obviously, it's significantly more powerful. 700 horsepower. It's a noticeable increase. It's kind of terrifying. It's a little intimidating to drive at first. And of course, this is a rear-wheel drive car, so you really need to warm the tires up before you turn the traction control off and open her up. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a hedge. And of course, the GT2 RS has the Turbo S engine in it, but obviously increased in power, and they increase the power with all sorts of tricks, extra boost, and of course the water injection. They're injecting water into the cylinder to stop the knocking, the pre-combustion. So there's a little water reservoir up in the trunk for distilled water. But yeah, the acceleration is frightening. But of course it is a 911, so everything's well sorted. It's surprisingly easy to drive. And the thing that had me concerned was having the Turbo S engine made me worry that this was going to be as boring to drive as a Turbo S. The Turbo S is an incredibly fast car, but they're boring because the engine doesn't sound that great and they're just so easy to drive. But this is a completely different beast, of course. This is the sound of the engine with the exhaust system off, but in this car you've actually got a sports exhaust button which opens up that sound. It doesn't sound as great as a GT3 naturally aspirated engine, but it's a big step up from the standard Turbo S sound, which is kind of dull. And some of you might be wondering, how is it that I'm thrashing a brand new GT2 with only 700 odd miles on it? Well, the break-in period that Porsche recommends for a GT2 engine is actually only 500 miles, so it's already completed its break-in period. So it's ready to do 200 miles an hour happily. But of course, driving this car around Connecticut's highways really doesn't do it justice. So I'll try and get some track time with this, or at least some back road times with this in a future video. So this is just a short video for initial impressions on this mad beast. You know, I love that it's in Guards Red. I'm not a big fan of Guards Red normally, but it really works on the GT2 RS. And inside it's got red stitching. Even the fire extinguisher sort of looks Guards Red, so it all matches. The only thing that doesn't match, oddly, these are not Guards Red seatbelts. Someone screwed up there. This is Carmine Red seatbelts, but I guess they're easy enough to change out. Just odd having mismatched colors. Very nicely configured GT2 RS, even the steering column with the stitching on it. A Nick Murray touch there. Okay, so let's open her up a little bit. I'll put it in PDK Sport and punch it. Yeah, it's insanely fast. And I love how it delivers the power. The power feels the same across the rev range, which is odd for a turbocharged engine. I'll let him past. It is a crawler rally after all. And of course you can't miss it on the road. It's very unique looking front end on the GT2 RS, as well as a unique rear end with those round tailpipes. It is the most aggressive 911 I've ever seen. And of course it has very little ground clearance. Maybe 4.5 inches I think on the front. So it definitely needs the front lift button. And of course PDK just makes driving this fast ludicrously easy. Of course the only thing you need to watch for is leaving the nannies on if you're inexperienced driving a car of this sort of power with only rear wheel drive, because it will bite you quite quickly, I think. So how does it feel compared to my very average Carrera 4S? Well, obviously it's laid out completely differently. These bucket seats are awesome. They're so cozy. They've only got 2 adjustments, sort of up and down and forward and back with the slider. And even with the exhaust off and all the settings in its most comfortable mode, PDK Sport off and so forth, you feel a lot more of the bumps. It's like your teeth are going to fall out. This car definitely rides a lot harder, obviously being the sport model. and there's a lot more noise enters the cabin. It's, you know, I'm having to shout over the sound of the engine, even with the sports exhaust off. But if they were the same price, would I rather have a GT3 RS or a GT2 RS? Honestly, I'd much rather a GT3 RS. This is definitely a lot faster. This is definitely the top of the line. But for my money, the GT3 RS is the pinnacle of driving enjoyment in a Porsche 911. It's not a car that you want to drive every day, but that screaming naturally aspirated engine is an emotional beast. And there's something to be said for not having too much power. And you know, it would take me a long time to learn how to handle this much power on a track, I think. Other little oddities, of course, the trunk is carbon fiber, and you notice as soon as I lift it up, it just feels like a piece of plastic compared to the trunk on my car. It has a huge gas tank compared to the regular 911. I guess because it's guzzling gas so quickly. And of course it has an Alcantara steering wheel and seats, and Alcantara everywhere else, which is actually perfectly acceptable in a race car. Even the paddles are odd in the GT2 RS. They're just little tiny things behind the wheel here. I put it in manual mode. They've got the tiniest movement. And of course the PDK just changes instantly. So that's my quick drive of the GT2 RS. I know, this car deserves a proper review on back roads and a track, because driving on public roads really doesn't do a vehicle like this justice.